Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another action-packed, exciting episode of Scotty's Record Shop. On this particular episode, we are going to meet the Beatles in Japan. But don't worry, no passports, no travel plans, none of that necessary, because basically what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at, grab one here, the Beatles, meet the Beatles, Japanese pressing. The original Odeon, and the back is in Japanese. I'll put that there for a second anyway, so you can get a little bit of a grasp of it. Issued in April of 1964, right at the beginning of Beatlemania in Japan and in Asia, in the entire world, really, because everything exploded in the beginning of 1964 for the Beatles, didn't it? And Asia was no exception. They clinged on to the Beatles, and they still cling on to the Beatles. I'll tell you that one amazing thing about um, Japanese Japan is that they released multiple versions of Beatle albums. They had their own distinctive collection. They issued the American versions. They issued the UK version, some of the German versions. I'm not sure what else, maybe some Mexican ones, things that were distinctively different. These, this Meet the Beatles, other than the cover being different, is very much different than its US counterpart. First of all, let's talk about the vinyl. Well, the things that came inside is this. This is English on one side, and on the other side, it is in Japanese. Now, this came in, I believe, all of the pressings. I only have two. We'll talk about those right now. That was a 1964, 1965 Odeon pressing, and this is a late 60s, early 70s Apple pressing. See the Apple right there? Very similar on the back. The cardstock is a little different, a little thicker, not quite as it's not as shiny, um, but essentially the same thing. Now let's take a look at the vinyl, shall we? The original. Now, one thing about that's cool about the Japanese market pressing is they care about Japanese care about their vinyl, and they recognized that they needed to put out just the best possible pressings and sleeves and everything else. One thing that they put them in was sleeves. Long before any smarty pants here realized, well, we maybe paper sleeves aren't the best thing for our vinyl. Japanese were on it. Now, another thing that early pressings, actually in the 60s and in some cases into the early 70s, they used a vinyl called Everclean. This is the original Odeon press. Now, why would they do this? Is it the cool factor? Because ooh, it is very cool, and it really is. The reason, though, that they used Everclean vinyl, what they called Everclean vinyl, was because of a couple of reasons. The formulation of vinyl that was used here was static resistant. So these did not get as staticky. Is that a word? Staticky. I'm going to use that word. Staticky. I hope it's a word. As other pressings. And also, something that is very common with pretty much all of Japanese vinyl, incredibly quiet pressing. Incredibly quiet. Now, this original pressing is 60 years old. It's in really great shape, especially for being in 60 years old. Now, my Apple pressing is pretty much mint. I'm going to show you this now. Again, in the Apple. This is in drop dead gorgeous shape, and I really love. I know the camera is not capturing it as well as it is, but I really love the Japanese Apple labels. They're just bright and just really gorgeous. Again, um, the later pressings on Apple, you can find these on the Red Ever Clean ever clean pressings, but I opted to just get a black pressing because it was a little cheaper, and I'd already had an original Everclear. So I I'm a big fan of Japanese vinyl. I don't have everything that the Beatles issued in Japan, or it's crazy. They, like I said, I think I said that they issued everything. U.S., Canadian. I think there was some Canadian stuff even in there. Definitely the UK. I know there's some German stuff, and their own. Now let's talk about. I'm very professional, can't you? Can't you tell? Track listing on these 14 tracks. This is kind of a composite of the UK Please Please Me and with the Beatles, with some notable switching around and some add-ons. This has I Want to Hold Your Hand and She Loves You. Basically, this has the first five US singles on it. Uh, I know that our US version of this album is something like 11 tracks or something. I can't remember. I think it was like 11 or 12 tracks. They vary between 11 and 12 tracks. I love the American version of Meet the Beatles. I absolutely do. Flows well, even though it's been dexterized. I don't care. I grew up with that. This is a great album. This flows really, really, really remarkably well. And again, sound quality, especially if you get an earlier pressing, if you're lucky enough to find an earlier pressing, you sound incredibly good. Incredibly good. One other note, this is in mono. Now, okay, that's 1964, 1965. Everybody was pressing mono. But even when you get into the later 60s pressings and into the 70s pressings, all mono, which is kind of neat, I think, kind of in a way. It has a great sound. Why would you want to? Why would you want to buy one of these things? Why? What? What would possess you to get this? Other than the fact that it's cool. It is very, 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 very cool. Come on, you got to admit, very cool. It's a great album. It flows well. It's just really cool. I keep using cool, but it's beyond that. It's just now harder to find these now. I mean, everything is at your fingertips, right? Discogs, eBay, anything. Just press a button and it's yours if you have the money. You better have the money though, because these are going up in value again. Fortunately, I got a lot of these when they were kind of no, I don't want to say a dime a dozen, but they were a little cheaper. Thankfully, my most of my Beatles stuff doesn't have the OBI strip. On this original one from 64, 65, it was a half of an OB. It didn't even go all the way down, and those don't even. I've never seen one. I've never even seen one for sale anywhere because they were so fragile they just didn't survive. And even for a full OB on a later 60s, early 70s pressing, that jacks the price right up. And although the strip is really, really cool and I enjoy it, and I do have, I don't want to say a lot of Japanese vinyl, but I've got some Japanese, I love Japanese vinyl. And they have OB strips. And I think it's cool, but I didn't want to pay an extra $20, $30 for a piece of paper. You know what I'm saying? I just don't have that. Didn't have that money then. I sure don't have the money now. So anyway, that is my little soiree into Meet the Beatles, the Japanese version. If you want to venture out and try to find a copy, I highly recommend it. Now, before I leave you, I want to let you know I try to talk about a YouTuber. At least I try to talk about a YouTuber in every video. This one, like this guy, really needs my help. He doesn't need. I need his help. Okay, I mean, Mr. Mayo. I've known Joe forever. He was in the VC when I was first in the VC way back 9, 10, 12 years ago. Difference was I stopped making videos. He kept going and built an amazing channel. with tons of wonderful content. Joe is a great guy. If for some reason you have been living under a rock or something and you do not know about me, Mr. Mayo, please subscribe to his channel. And while you're at it, subscribing to channels, please subscribe to mine. Memberships are kind of staying right where it has been for a little while, and I want to try to get out there a little more. So click like, subscribe, and share if you can. Okay, it would make this old man very happy if we could make this channel grow again. Alrighty, my friends. Until next time, peace and love.